Hi, welcome to Whole Latte Love. Today, myself, Mark Jackson, and my esteemed patriot friend here, Todd Salzman, and I will discuss the Ceado grinders. First, a little bit of history about the Giotto. Actually, the father's name, Todd, which I always have trouble with.
Giotto.
He was born in 1937. Giotto, yes. He was born in 1937. He originally worked for Mazda as an apprentice, and then he went to
Firenzato, where he worked for a long time, became the technical director. Then he went out on his own. 1992, he had his own company.
And what they did is the main goal of the company is they did research and design for companies such as Hamilton Beach and other companies. Then they created a grinder. Their products are available in over 700 countries right now. We're bringing them to the U.S.
And they also do juicers and blenders, and they have a creamer thing back here that actually will froth for you. Very cool items.
One of the things we're excited about of the many, and we could talk about these grinders for well over a half hour as we
describe. We're going to try to be quick.
We're going to try to be a little bit quick about it, but obviously if you have questions, just give us a call. One of the great things about the grinder, amongst many, is they're NSF approved. Anybody in the restaurant business or a health inspector, fire marshal, permit office are all certainly very familiar with NSF approval.
And it's got the ETL and UL.
Well, let's show them how it works, Todd.
Okay, let's do that. Okay, this machine we're using here is a automatic version. We're actually not bringing these in right away, but they're going to be available. They have semi-automatic, and then they have timer versions. To operate the timer version, you turn on main power switch on the left side here, very right side, where you're facing, and the little button under here I'll push, it'll start it. So you can hear how quiet the grinder is.
Now this grinder is called the E7, and we recommend this for light to medium use. The RPMs on it, it runs at about 1400 RPMs, less than a lot of our competitors. The burr size is 64 millimeters. People know what that means. It runs at about 400 watts.
Yep.
Very quickly, what it also does is, because of the design, we'll get into that quickly, uses about 20% less energy than our competitors and has proven to be about 30% quieter.
Well, it needs 20% energy, 20% less energy to actually run. It's still got good wattage because of the way the bearings are mounted and all that.
Okay.
Very, very efficient motor. What I really like about this grinder, amongst other things, is the way it dispenses, it doses. When you pull the handle, it dispenses the coffee into here like other commercial grinders, but watch how evenly it puts it in there. Just drops it straight down. A lot of grinders will miss to the left, a few to the right, but mainly they miss to the left here and it makes a mess, so it's very, very neat.
Any baristas watching will know. Some grinders, they know it pulls the left, pulls the right, and you got to hold the port filter that way.
It does that by there's a conical shaped spout in here. So it actually, this spout, when the coffee comes down through, this is angled in, so it directs it all in. You know, it's pretty smart, pretty simple, does a nice job.
Well, speaking of simple,
Oh yeah.
drip tray.
Yeah, the grounds catcher over here. Notice it fits right in, it snaps right in place. Fits very nice there also.
Very, very well engineered.
Yep. Inside the doser, we'll take a look over this one here since there's no coffee in it. I want to show you some nice features about that. Is you can reach your hand all the way inside here to get inside there, to clean it. A lot of machines will have guards on there so you can't reach in. This is your adjustment knob to adjust how much it's going to dose when you pull the handle. Each revolution here is 0.5 grams.
And you can adjust that between 5 and 9 grams.
This is the automatic version. This is a little switch that turns it off when it gets full. The non-automatic, the semi-automatics will not have that.
While we're on this grinder, we talked about the E7. This is the E10. Certainly made more for high volume, and we'll give you a quick demonstration here about the fan, because there's a fan in it that cools it. The watts in the motor runs at about 740 watts. The burrs are bigger, so it's a little bit faster. 83 millimeter burrs, and then the great thing about this grinder compared to our competitors, it runs at about 690 RPMs, which is very low speed for a flat burr.
Yep.
For a flat burr grinder.
Yep.
Now we'll do our demonstration. This is the fan in action.
Yeah, I want to show you that. So they have a little air intake over there, and on the other side, this sucks air in when the grinder's on. I'll show you how this works. So
notice it's very quiet, as you can tell.
See it sucking that in? Suction from the top and draws the air down, so it cools the motor and expels the hot air through the bottom of the grinder. Again, look how quiet that is. They also have two different tampers, which you don't have to use, but you can if you want to. They screw on from the bottom. move up to the top?
Sure.
Okay. Should I say it or you want to tell them about it?
Go ahead.
Okay, good. I get to do this. Okay. Bean hopper's removable. Comes off like that. A little trap door here that you got to keep closed.
There's been an accident. Most important thing is nobody's been hurt.
Yep. And what's nice about this grinder, you can get it to burrs very quickly. I'm going to kind of grind some more of this coffee out of here. So if you want to get it to burrs for cleaning, or to change them, or you just say you drop a stone in there and you got to get at it, it's very easy. You can do it just for like a minute or so. Okay. Got 3 screws. If I can get my screwdriver on it. There we go. You just pull these off.
Todd and I are like a finely tuned machine doing this.
Okay. Okay. Now the whole thing comes right off like that. There's a little rubber piece here just kind of as a seal. You can see the burrs in here. And so you clean this whole thing out and then you put it right back together again. Notice this nut here is called an acorn nut. That's very smooth. So when the grinder's turning, if you get your finger down inside here, you won't get hurt. So small children and people that aren't too bright will be fine.
Mostly not too bright people.
Yep. Now another thing about the grinder, when you adjust the grind setting on this, like back and forth for fine and coarse, you notice there's no threads exposed to the coffee. With the competitors' grinders, every time you turn the adjustment lever, there's threads that move the grinder up and down. And they get exposed to coffee, they can get plugged up over time, and it's a pain to clean. Another nice thing is when you put it back together, like this, you put the screws in, and it's ready to go. It's already set to its grind setting that you had before, so you don't have to recalibrate the grinder. That saves a lot of time and coffee.
And it's very unique. It's just a very easy, helpful thing. The other thing is you can't over-adjust this. Like some of the other grinders, you can get so far out of whack you don't even know where when you're calibrating it. So it's basically you get lost. But this eliminates all that.
Yeah, some people get in, they start adjusting it so far, it takes forever to get back where. Got the screws for that?
Yes, I do, Todd.
Now one thing we heard from our friends in Australia about these grinders that we like so much was the way they like to set up for the coffee shops was they would get the grinder dialed in perfectly, and then they would take these 2 screws out on top here. These screws hold the adjustment lever. And then they would put the lever back to the center, put these screws back in so they know the right spot for espresso was in the center. We know that every coffee is going to be a little bit different, but at least it gives you a good starting point. So if the coffee shop owner would call up, or the kid running the coffee the machine would say, well, it's not making good espresso, we say, well, just put it back to the center, we'll start there, and then dial it in according to your shot timing.
Exactly.
Yep. And a nice piece of rubber here. On the front of this, it'll tell you coarse and fine, so you know exactly which way to turn it with numbers here, so it's easier to remember where you had it. Motor time.
It is motor time. Or tool time.
Okay. This motor here runs much more efficient than the other motors on the market for the grinders, and therefore produces less heat. And you can see the burrs set there.
While Todd's focusing on the motor, a little bit about the motor is that there's a unique way that it's manufactured, and one of the things is that there's 2 ball bearings in every motor, obviously, especially in the grinder motors. Now, a lot of the manufacturers, what they'll do is there's a bevel spring or a wavy washer that needs to be in the motor to make the ball bearings run. And usually, for cost-saving purposes, that wavy washer is placed in the upper bearing. Okay, and with Giotto, what they've done is they manufacture the motor so that the wavy washer goes in the bottom. And what that does is a couple things. It keeps the ball bearings, the drive shaft, basically perfectly perpendicular. And the other thing is that it also increases your motor life and it reduces wear and tear on the ball bearings. But more importantly, it keeps the burrs and the drive shaft perfectly perpendicular. And what that does in the end is that you're going to have, and they've actually analyzed this, you're going to have more consistent grind as far as your particle size.
Yep. The motors are manufactured with an upper burr plate locked in place at the manufacturer of the motor. It's not done actually at Ceado.
At Giotto, right.
Yeah, and on the bottom we have rubber mounts here that keep it very, very quiet. This actually mounts on a metal plate in the bottom of the grinder like that. So it's not bolted at the top, so you don't get that hum coming down through the grinder.
Now, one of the other things is we wanted to talk about quickly was the dosing unit. And as you can see here, we have one of our competitors here, and as you can see, that's kind of a, I don't know what you want to call it. It's not a substantial spring. Okay, that's one of our competitors. This is the dosing unit of the Giotto. As you can see, it's completely different. It's a much more substantial spring, and actually it's so much more substantial they're giving it a lifetime guarantee on that spring.
Yeah, they had it made specially. They got the specs, they designed it, they had it made special. It's not an off-the-shelf spring. Sounds like not a big deal, but actually it is.
It is, especially if if you're familiar with a busy coffee shop, you have to change the goofy little springs on the other one all the time. So,
Yep.
Let's talk a little bit more about that. The way that's designed, it's also almost kind of similar to the motor. Is that's locked in there, and what that does, it gives you a more consistent dose, and also it keeps it so that you don't have a lot of coffee particles between that dosing star and the bottom of the doser.
Dosing star is the little gear underneath that when you pull the handle, it engages on that. It's actually, that's also, they take great care to make sure that's perpendicular to the bolt that holds it in place, so it runs smoothly and lasts longer.
One of the two differences on these are they're pretty much the same size. The E7 is about 24 inches tall with the hopper on, as Todd will demonstrate, and then the E10 is about 25 and a half inches tall. So they're a little bit different in size, and this one's certainly this would be suitable in a really busy place.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else we should talk about?
That covers it pretty good. There's a lot of detail in this, and if you want to talk to us about it, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions, because we don't want to get too deep into it because we could go for a long time.
Anyways, it's Todd and Mark. Happy to announce Ceado coming to the United States. Proud to be the distributor, and we'll talk to you soon. Have a great day. Thanks.